The string quartet swelled as the bride stepped onto the vineyard lawn, her dress catching the golden California sun like liquid satin. But no one was watching her. They were watching me. I'd just entered through the staff gate, by request, not because I didn't have a +1, but because the invitation strongly discouraged outsiders. This was a tight family affair, and apparently my presence was already bending the rules. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us which city you're watching from. And after this story, let me know. What would you have done in my shoes? Let's dive in. I move silently, wearing a fitted slate-glued dress with a high slit and simple silver heels. No jewelry, no clutch, just confidence. Enough to stir whispers like wildfire. To my right, my cousin Sabrina leaned into her fiancé. Seriously? Alone again? She muttered. From the other side, my Aunt Valerie let out a theatrical sigh. Always the misfit. Can't even keep a date. Then came the boom. My father's voice. Would look what the wind dragged in, he laughed, bourbon sloshing from his glass as he descended the stone steps. No arm candy, huh? Still living solo in that shack you call a startup loft? I said nothing at first, just walked toward the back row. I came for Isla, I said evenly. Nothing else. Isla doesn't need your pity, he spat, reaching out. She has us, not your charity case nonsense. He grabbed my arm. Let's make sure everyone sees the prodigal daughter. He growled and shoved me. My heels slipped on the gravel path. I fell backwards, straight into the koi pond. Gasps, then laughter, even applause. Soaked, mascara smudged, silk clinging to my skin, I rose slowly, hair dripping, face calm. And then I smiled. Right at him. Right at my father. And I said, just loud enough for everyone to hear, "You're going to regret this moment." I stepped out of the koi pond barefoot, soaked silk clinging to my legs, each step echoing against the stone path. I didn't ask for help. I didn't ask for a towel. The hush around me was thick with shock and mockery. My father scoffed and turned away. My cousin Sabrina covered a giggle behind her wine glass. They thought they'd broken me. They didn't know what was coming. Because 20 minutes later, the low purr of an engine whispered into the vineyard's circular drive. A matte black Aston Martin Valkyrie rolled in. Then the door opened. First came Charles, his head of security, then the driver, then him. Luca Sterling. The reclusive billionaire, defense tech architect, founder of Centurion Labs, he rarely appeared in public, let alone weddings of people who had insulted his wife. He strode toward me, in a charcoal suit, no tie, midnight eyes scanning only me. Guest stiffened. Someone gasped. Aunt Valerie dropped her flute. Sabrina whispered, "Is that?" Before anyone else could process it, Luca reached me, took my dripping hand in his warm, dry one, and said gently, "You okay, Angel?" I nodded once. Then he turned, facing the sea of stunned relatives with his arm wrapped tightly around my waist. His voice, cold and controlled. "Who pushed my wife into a pond?" Gasps rippled, faces drained. My father blinked like he'd seen a ghost. "Where wife?" Sabrina croaked. Luca raised my hand, where my platinum ring shimmered under the sun. "Yes," he said, "wife. We were married in Lake Como, privately, 3 weeks ago." Then, fixing his gaze directly on my father, he added, "And since your family didn't think she was worth bringing a +1, I thought it was time I introduced myself." That was the moment everything changed. Because that wasn't the finale, that was the launch. The beginning of how I tore down every smug smile, every cold dismissal, every barrier they built around my name, and made them all choke on their pride. Someone dropped a wine glass near the catering tent, and the shatter rang across the courtyard like a warning bell. I stood there, drenched and defiant, my hand laced with Luca's as my family looked on like they were seeing a ghost. I could practically hear the calculations running behind their stares. Him? With her? Why? Megan broke first. "This is insane," she said, taking a shaky step forward in her designer gown. "You're lying." She's not married to you. She couldn't be. Luca tilted his head slightly. Would you like to see the certificate? Ceremony held in Ohio, private vineyard estate. I can call our attorney if you'd like confirmation. Megan's mouth opened. Nothing came out. My father said nothing. His eyes bounced between Luca's watch, the supercar parked in the driveway, and the driver now standing sentinel by the hood like security detail. From behind me, my cousin Sabrina whispered, louder than she thought, "Why would he marry her?" Luca's gaze sharpened. "I could ask the same," he replied, his voice calm but venom-laced. "Why would someone like me walk into a celebration that masquerades as love, only to find a family tearing down their own in front of strangers?" My father finally snapped, "All right, cut the act. You're just another target she latched onto. That's what she does. Leech, fake. Attach yourself to anything that shines." Luca turned to me. "Let's go home." But I didn't move, not yet. I took a step forward, soaked dress clinging like armor. "Actually," I said quietly, "I think I'll stay a bit longer. I want to see the cake." "Sweetheart, please," my mother started. "No," I said firmly. "You all made me feel invisible. You laughed when I was pushed. You said nothing. That silence said everything." I turned to my father and added softly, "Whatever dignity I had for you drowned in that pond." Then I walked away, Luca beside me, my wet gown trailing like a queen's cloak. I didn't look back. But the whispers, the panic, the shame, I heard every drop of it. The drive was quiet until Luca asked, "Why didn't you tell me it was this bad?" I stared out the window. "Would you have believed me?" His jaw clenched. "You should have let me come from the start." "They would have humiliated me anyway," I said. If you felt that moment shift, like the power finally turning, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because this was only the first crack in their perfect little world. "It's not about who I'm with, Luca," I said quietly, my voice steady. "It's about me. It always has been. I was never their favorite. I was their threat. The one they couldn't mold, couldn't dismiss, couldn't silence." Luca reached for my hand and held it gently. "Death ends now," he said. "If you're ready, I think it's time we put your name on everything we've built." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he said, "I want you on the board of Sterling Defense Systems. Officially. Publicly. As my wife. But more than that, I want the world to see you. Not quietly. Not in shadows. Fully." My throat tightened. "They'll come after me harder." His faint smile didn't waver. "Good. Let them." Over the next few weeks, headlines exploded. "The secret bride of Luca Sterling. Who is Bianca Monroe? Wedding pond scandal sparks corporate shockwaves." Clips from the vineyard leaked. My fall, the fountain, the silence, then Luca's entrance, my soaked dress, my smile. His arm around me. It went viral. The same relatives who once mocked me, sending orchids, DMs, apologies wrapped in designer ribbons. Even Megan posted a filtered photo of us from years ago, captioned, "Sisters above all." I didn't reply. Not when the bakery that once refused my business offered a 3-tiered forgiveness cake. Not when Sabrina messaged, "Girl, you slayed at the wedding, drink soon?" And certainly not when my father called, voice stiff with pride, "Let's talk, like adults." I let the silence settle around them like fog. Until the day a nondescript envelope arrived. No name, no return address. Inside, a flash drive. I plugged it in. Security footage. A hotel bar. Megan. Laughing. Reaching across the marble counter to touch Luca's chest. His expression unreadable. Then another clip, outside his hotel room. Her leaning in, him blocking the door. Twice. She didn't get in, but she tried. The date? 2 weeks before our first official date. I closed the laptop, my hands shook. This wasn't just family betrayal anymore. This was war. Megan hadn't just wanted what I had. She wanted to destroy it because she couldn't own it. I didn't cry. I didn't even call Luca. Not yet. I just leaned back in my chair, heart pounding, and whispered to myself, "So? You want war?" And then I played the footage again. Luca never touched her. His body language was stiff, guarded. His hands stayed down, his jaw was clenched. But Megan laughed like she'd already won, as if she believed the world and the man standing in front of her belonged to her by default. It made my stomach turn. She hadn't just tried to take him. She tried before I ever knew what he would become to me, before I even knew. Now, she was rebranding herself as the gracious sibling online. #family first, reposting filtered wedding clips like nothing had happened. The betrayal wasn't just personal anymore, it was strategic. The next morning, I told Luca everything. He sat still, listening closely. No interruptions. When I finished, he exhaled slowly. "I should have told you," he said. "She came on to me that night. I shut it down. I thought ignoring it was enough." "You backed off?" "I thought so. I never touched her, Bianca. Not for a second." I believed him. But what sat heavy in my chest wasn't doubt about him. It was clarity about her. "She won't stop," I whispered. "This isn't jealousy. This is about control. If she can't have you, she'll burn everything we built." Luca nodded. Then we stopped being polite. We stopped protecting her image. "You want to take off the mask? I'll help." But I didn't need his help, not yet. Because someone else came forward first. A message request from a woman named Emma Hartley. "You don't know me, but I used to date a guy named Luke. He was engaged to your sister once. He told me things. I didn't believe him until I saw the fountain video. Can we talk?" We met at a quiet cafe tucked into downtown Sonoma. Emma looked pale, jittery. Her eyes kept flicking toward the door, as if she expected Megan to walk in any second. "She's worse than you think," Emma said, her voice low as she stirred her tea. "Luke used to tell me Megan was obsessed with control, being the center of every room. She sabotaged her friends' careers, got someone fired for earning a promotion she wanted, and after she got engaged to Luke, she cheated with his best friend. 3 weeks later, I didn't blink. She did the same thing to me in college," I replied evenly. "Different man, same pattern." Emma's eyes softened like she'd been waiting to hear that. "She hacked into my phone once, sent Luke fake messages from me, claimed I was cheating. I only found out when his sister screenshot one." I leaned forward slightly. "Why now?" Emma looked me dead in the eyes. "Because you're the first person Megan hasn't been able to manipulate. And something about her lately? I think she's planning something worse." Luca and I hadn't gone public with anything yet. No press statements, no legal moves. But behind the scenes, I'd started gathering pieces. I requested security footage from the wedding. I contacted her former employer, the one she left with glowing farewell posts. The woman who replaced her told me Megan was caught deleting co-workers' files to tank their performance reviews. Then I reached out to one of my father's old business contacts, the one who cut ties suddenly 5 years ago. "She's toxic," he said. "Your dad protects her, your mom ignores it, but anyone with a stake knows Megan's a beautiful liability. She cost me a major deal once." Bit by bit, it was coming together. Megan wasn't a victim. She was a carefully disguised wrecking ball, and the people around her? Willing spectators. But the final crack came with a phone call from a law office, a man named Grant Delaney. "I represent your grandmother's estate," he said, formal but gentle. "There's a codicil in her trust, one you were never told about." I froze. "She passed 3 years ago." "Yes, but 6 weeks before that, she amended the beneficiary of her private property trust, 3 homes and $1,300,000. 0 cents in assets. She named you. The paperwork was never disclosed in probate." Yeah. A pause. "Because someone forged her signature, tried to redirect the assets. We believe your father, and possibly your sister, were involved." The line went quiet. "Then, Miss Monroe, would you like to reclaim what's legally yours?" I stared at the marble table. My tea was cold, my hands steady. "Yes," I said, but not quietly. He didn't send copies. He sent originals. Original. My name, Bianca Monroe, was there in my grandmother's flowing script. Dated, notarized, legal. The ink hadn't faded. The truth had just been buried. I called Luca. It's time. 2 days later, headlines broke wide open. Inheritance fraud. Billionaire's wife reclaims $1,300,000 0 cents. Hidden trusts. By noon, it was trending, not because of me, but because of the names in the filing. Jonathan Monroe, Megan Monroe. I didn't release a statement. I didn't need to. I just made sure the court date was public. And I showed up. Navy suit. Hair down. Heels sharp as memory. Luca walked beside me, fingers laced through mine as reporters called out questions I didn't answer. Inside, my father sat stiff, eyes avoiding mine. Megan? Never came. Her lawyer submitted a written denial, claimed she had no knowledge. The judge didn't flinch, especially not after the handwriting expert took the stand. This wasn't careless, she said. It was calculated. Someone practiced this signature. My father's face flushed dark red. I didn't look at him. I didn't have to. I'd already won. Back home, Luca poured champagne, but I didn't lift the glass. I thought I'd feel something, I murmured. I have what they tried to erase. But you still hear the splash. I nodded. Luca stepped in closer. Then let them hear it too. He handed me an envelope. An invitation. Our public vow renewal. Black tie, media presence, charity fundraiser. In 50 guests. And every single person who had clapped when I hit the water. The night of the gala, Megan walked in wearing scarlet and smugness. She thought she still owned the room. Until the screen lit up. Photos of my grandmother's home. Laughing snapshots of us in the garden, and then the will. Signed, sealed, projected for all to see. I took the mic. My name is Bianca Monroe Sterling. You may remember me as the girl pushed into a fountain at her sister's wedding. But I wasn't alone. I was underestimated. A beat of silence. And now, I'm exactly where I belong. I raised my glass. I hope you're watching closely. And they were, especially Megan, who stormed out before dessert, her red gown trailing behind her like a retreat flag. 2 days later, she texted, "We need a talk, alone." I replied, "Tomorrow, 4 p.m., no games." She arrived on time, no makeup, no drama, just Megan. We sat in silence, then she said it. "You were never supposed to win." "You mean, I was never supposed to survive," I replied. She didn't argue. "You were always the quiet one, the one they joked about." "You pushed me out," I said. "And when I stopped needing your approval, you panicked." She exhaled. Luca was supposed to be a one-night thing. I didn't know he was rich. Just thought he was hot. I stayed quiet. "What scared me wasn't that you married him," she said softly. "It was that he chose you." I waited for an apology. It never came. "You came for forgiveness?" I asked. "No. I came to stop pretending." "You won." "I didn't win," I said. "I became." She stood. "No goodbye." I didn't follow. Weeks passed. The court restored my inheritance. My father was fined. His stock dropped. Megan disappeared from social media. But I didn't. I kept rising. Not for revenge, for me. On our anniversary, Luca and I returned to the vineyard. I stood at the fountain and saw a woman rebuilt. "Do you forgive them?" he asked. "No," I said. "But I forgive me." And the sun set behind us. Golden, warm, just like my future. If you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or pushed aside, leave a comment and tell me how you rose above it. I read every one. Your words remind me I'm not alone, and if my story moved you, hit subscribe. Not just for me, but for every quiet fighter finding their voice.